Carbon is the basis of life. We always consist of carbon compounds. However, it seems to me, and I have to defend that over my working time at CERN, silicon is the good thing for science and in particular for physics. I think science has to count more and more on silicon for making progress. And we have tried to show that in various ways over the last years. Robert Klanner has already explained how he started with the microstrips, and that was around 1980. In 1980, 1 micron was very, very, very small. And we worked on these microstrips, and we were very proud that we could make structures of 10, 20 microns. Very soon it was clear strips need chips. So we had to go from the sensor design. Also we had to introduce knowledge, know-how, how to make electronics that could be used to read out all these elements. Robert mentioned that he was limited by the readout pitch. He couldn't contact every 20 micron, so he had to contact every 60 micron and leave the other strips floating. So we, of course, now we are slowly progressing to a different situation. In 1985 we really started to do electronics, so that was a little after the first microstrips. But 2 micron at that time was a very good dimension, and you see here a transistor that is a 2 micron CMOS technology. And at that time we used electronics of the order of 2 or 3 micron, and industry was using electronics of 1 micron. Today, electronics uses a gate length of 60 nanometers. This is 2015, so the 30 years later, it was down to a very small area, so very small dimension, very thin devices. And in fact, if you want to show the real size in compared to this, so this is the real size of the transistor that I just showed on the previous slide compared to this. So this is the real change in dimensions. And even today, a few years later, IBM has just published transistors. Here you see an array of transistors, so each of these things is 1 transistor, and it's 5 nanometers. Now, 5 nanometers is about 100 atoms. So here are only 100 atoms doing your work. And unfortunately, in our experiments, we are beginning to use 60 nanometers. So today we are something like 8 generations in technology behind. So we are losing. We have to catch up, I think. So this is my provocative statement. However, I have to come back now to the thanks. I'm very happy, as also Robert expressed, that the European Physical Society has given us this prize, and I see this as a proof that the European Physics Society, and maybe many more physicists as a whole, see the development R&D in devices, in technology, as a real contribution to physics. So I appreciate very much here Rudiger Vos and Yves Sirois, who represent for us the European Physical Society in this room, and I thank the European Physical Society and the whole community for having given this prize. I think we want to show, I would like to thank also many other people that have been contributing over these years. You can understand that we don't do these things just alone. There is a whole army of people before us, there is a whole army of people with us, and there are many people that are hopefully coming after us. In fact, here I show 3 generations of segmented silicon detectors, and actually the oldest segmented detector was made in Amsterdam, and you can imagine that I knew something about that when I was studying there. And so there are people there that worked already, but they had no electronics. So the electronics for this device was taking a room full of tubes and things. And then this is the detector that you saw on the slide also of Robert. Here we had much smaller electronics, but not as small as we can do later on. And here you see the segmented detector, that's a pixel detector, of which Saturday Michael Campbell was talking. So here you have 55 micron elements, and each of the elements has a connected amplifier. So the main good points for silicon devices in particle physics are really that we have the possibility of making all these small elements of detection, all very precise. They can all be connected today. Silicon is extremely fast. Sometimes people thought in the past that silicon was relatively slow, because in nuclear physics they use shaping of a few microseconds. But in reality, the silicon, so the electrons in silicon, they have a speed of something like 100,000 kilometers per hour, and so they're really fast. And you have a signal in a few nanoseconds. So you can really detect events at the megahertz rate, and in LHC we take 40 million pictures per second, the whole day long. After that you need a lot of electronics to digest all that, but that is what I showed before. We can do this more and more. While I am on this slide, I would like to thank people at CERN, Pierre Lazera, who was our group leader, Adolf Minton and Horst Wenninger, who were our division leaders, and they always were extremely supportive. Also, I think it is appropriate to mention the LAA project and Professor Zucchichi from Italy, who helped us very much to go on with the developments after the microstrips. And then I certainly have to mention our electronics teams, that with ever more sophisticated electronics from here to here to here, they made ever better electronics, and that in particular I want to mention Pierre Jaron, who made the electronics for this device, and then Michael Campbell and Walter Snoeys, who were working here. What I should not forget also is the industry. We took a more or less conscious decision at CERN not to produce these devices in CERN, in some kind of facility. We said, okay, let industry do it, because we need these complex technologies. And so there were basically 3 people that immediately catched on. Paul Bourget in Strasbourg with the company Enatech, Colin Wilburn in Southampton, and Kaio Yamamoto in Hamamatsu. These 3 people, between 1980 and 1984, they were setting up industrial processes, and so that made it possible for many of you to just go and buy a device that you wanted. And they were very good in producing these. So I think the collaboration with industry, also mentioned by Robert, has been an important aspect of all this. Also has helped to bring all this technology to the world applications in society. And now I want to come back to my last slide. I think we have to look out of the window and see what industry is really doing. So we should foster a collaboration with industry in 2 ways. One way, we should try to convince the industry to use what we find. Our physics results, maybe they can do something with it, maybe it can earn money, they can maybe make useful devices for society, but also we should look what they are doing. And as I said in the previous slide, we are now 8 generations behind, so maybe we should catch up, talk to them, and see how could we work with them to do new things. And what could be possible new things of what they do and what we could use. I think we could try to have much lower power for the same functions. Your phone has chips, and the main thing for your phone is it should last at least a day or 2 before the battery is finished, and therefore they work very hard in industry to reduce the power of the chips. Chips these days could do picosecond timing. We haven't done much on the timing in the past. Gatti was mentioned. If you look at the old paper of Gatti from 1955, he was working with nanoseconds. And we still work with nanoseconds. We should go to picoseconds. We can put a lot more memory on chip. We could do information processing so that what comes out is not raw data but some kind of processed data, and that might actually help the storage of all this data on the exabytes, the thousands of exabytes that we otherwise might need. We have to see, to use the economy of scale. Of course, microelectronics industry likes to sell 1 billion of the same chips. We don't need that, but somehow we may actually try to use this. So in the end, we should use their electronics better than what we do today, run at higher rates, have better data, and maybe it helps also to get new physics. They can make devices of a few nanometers. Our physics is actually in the picometers and the attometers. But those devices might actually help us to do better physics. Now, I'm too much solid-state physicist to judge where you can use it, but maybe you first make it and then somebody else finds how to use it. Okay, so I thank once more the various instances, not to forget the taxpayers that were mentioned before. All these things cost quite a lot of money, but I think that we could make new physics, new results by worldwide collaboration. We have to spend some money in the R&D, and I'm appreciative of the EPS to have given this prize. Thank you very much, and hope it helps to encourage other people to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much.